High school for a lot of people was brutal. It's something that you just get through and then you move on from. It's certainly not something that most of us would want to repeat, right? Well, for these two women, they did just that. Treva Throneberry and Shelby Hewitt both returned to high school as students when they were full grown adults. They lived decades apart and in different states, but their stories are very similar. Treva Throneberry grew up in Electra, Texas, and she disappeared from her hometown in the 1980s. She resurfaced years later in Washington under the name Brianna Stewart. She enrolled at Evergreen High School, and this was her yearbook photo. She joined the tennis team. She even went to prom. She wound up graduating with the class of 2000. During that graduation, she was 31 years old, but pretending to be 18. Her lies finally came crashing down when fingerprints and DNA confirmed her true identity and her true age. She was arrested and later pleaded guilty to fraud related charges for receiving foster care benefits, housing assistance, and tuition by falsely claiming to be a homeless minor. She was sentenced to time served, ordered to pay restitution, and she was barred from accessing services meant for children. The most disturbing part of Treva's case to me is that a man had been arrested for statutory RAPE because he had relations with Brianna Stewart, who authorities believed was a minor, but she wasn't. She was, again, a full grown adult. And then we have the more recent case of Shelby Hewitt out of Massachusetts. She was recently sentenced, but before we talk about that, let me tell you her high school return story. Shelby Hewitt was a licensed social worker with a master's degree who enrolled in multiple Boston high schools while she was in her 30s. This is one of her yearbook photos. Prosecutors said she used stolen identities and falsified records to attend classes, participate in activities, and access special education services alongside minors. In 2026, Shelby Hewitt pleaded guilty to forgery, identity fraud, and making false claims. She was sentenced to probation, ordered to pay restitution, barred from all Boston public school properties, prohibited from contacting the identity theft victim, and banned from working in social work or pursuing any related licenses. A lot of people automatically assume that these women were returning to high school to have access to minors or for a very nefarious reason, but allegedly, both of these women had a similar answer when they were asked, "Why did you do this? Why did you return to high school as a woman in your 30s?" They both gave answers that pointed to them wanting care, stability, and the childhood that they missed out on. Now, to me, that doesn't make these cases any less disturbing, but if it wasn't to get access to minors and, have their way with them, I'm glad for that. But still, I have to wonder about the psychology of someone that falsifies records, steals a child's identity just so they can pretend to be a child themselves. These are not the only two cases of someone returning to high school. If you'd like me to do more videos on these, I would be happy to, because again, I'm very interested in the psychology behind this. Let me know your thoughts and let me know if high school is somewhere you would go to this extent to do over again.